What is going on, everybody? We're back with another mock draft Monday. It's been a little bit since we've had a live mock draft where we're at with the 32 picks. We haven't had the 32 picks set from the Super Bowl. So this is my first one recording since that point. We've got an interesting one today. It's spurred on by an Instagram post. And if I remember, I'm going to put it on the screen. I apologize if I don't, but I think I'll remember. That's from Pick Six on Instagram, who make great content. This post was not something that I would have necessarily expected, but I think it's an interesting conversation. I think it's something I wanted to explore with the mock draft. So the post essentially has two scenarios for the New England Patriots going into next year. Excuse me. I'm coming off of being a little under the weather. The first one is to um, essentially draft a quarterback and sign other players in free agency. So re-sign Mike, I'm gonna always butcher his name, Onwenu, re-sign Hunter Henry, sign T. Higgins in free agency, although I don't think he's gonna end up being a free agent. I think the Bengals will tag him. Sign Garon Christian, draft Jaden Daniels, and draft Lad McConkey. And in most of my mock drafts, I've had Chicago taking Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC, Washington taking Drake May, quarterback out of North Carolina, and then the New England Patriots drafting Jaden Daniels, of course, quarterback out of LSU. So this is similar to what I've done in the past. But the other scenario was re-signing Onwenu, re-signing Kendrick Bourne, signing Kirk Cousins in free agency, signing Austin Hooper in free agency, drafting Marvin Harrison Jr., and drafting, I'm going to butcher his name, Kingsley Suamataia. Now, Suamataia is going to go in the second round or further. That's not really what I'm talking about today. But what I find interesting is the scenario is if New England is not in love with not only Jaden Daniels, but maybe also Bo Nix and Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy. They're not in love with taking a rookie quarterback, and they want to bring in a veteran. Gerard Mayo needing to turn the culture around in New England. I don't know. It's a scenario that I do not expect, but I think it's a fun conversation. And so I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Marvin Harrison Jr. being the pick certainly makes this an interesting draft. So we're going to do that today. We're going to have Chicago, as I've done in most of my mock drafts, taking Caleb Williams first overall, resetting. They'll trade Justin Fields. I don't know to who. For the purpose of this, we'll see. Let me see. Can I move sideways here? No, I can't see the picks. I'm trying to remember who would be looking for a quarterback. Let's assume Denver trades for Justin Fields. I don't know that that's eminently possible given their situation with Russell Wilson, but let's assume that's the deal. Caleb Williams goes to Chicago. Maybe Russell Wilson goes back on the Justin Fields deal, and Russell Wilson backs up Caleb Williams or starts the season at quarterback. It lets Caleb Williams have a little bit of a red shirt to start the year. I don't know, but that's what I'm going to assume is happening to Justin Fields. Washington at pick 2. I'm going to have him taking Drake May. That kind of sets up the scenario. Now, New England, we're assuming, is not in love with Jaden Daniels, not in love with Bo Nix, is not in love with Michael Penix, is not in love with JJ McCarthy or any of these quarterbacks that are going to be available at pick 3. And so they've signed Kirk Cousins in free agency. Free agency, of course, happens a little bit before the draft, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, they're going to plan this out. I always get my sports calendars mixed up. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is the pick, according to the Instagram post, and we'll see how the rest of the draft shakes out. Now, Arizona, this is a doomsday scenario for them. In almost every mock, I've had those first 3 picks being quarterbacks, whether the Patriots trade out of that pick or Chicago trades out of that pick, no matter what. I've had quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3. So Arizona, in most of my mock drafts, has had the opportunity to take Marvin Harrison Jr., the best wide receiver on the board, and now they don't have that. And sure, a lot of scouts think Malik Nabers is that 1B wide receiver in this draft. But if Arizona doesn't think so, if Arizona's comfortable getting Malik Nabers or Roma Dunze or even a guy like Brock Bowers, which I can't really see, they could make a trade back. And there's teams that are desperate for a quarterback. I mean, I have Denver trading for Justin Fields in this one, but Denver could trade up. Giants could trade up. Atlanta could trade up. In this one, I'm going to have the New York Giants making a trade here. And Arizona trading back. And what that allows them to do is really have an opportunity to take one of the early weapons that they're in love with. I'm going to assume, for the purpose of this, that Nabers and Adunze are close in their draft boards. And so they don't care if they get either one. And if they trade out of this pick, the Giants take a quarterback. Chargers can get either Nabers or Adunze, or they could go Brock Bowers or Joe Alt. And then the Cardinals get one of those 2 weapons at the top of the draft. Um, they're saying this is too much. I'm not here to build the trade package. You could pick what you want for the trade package, but the premise is there. The Giants are moving up to the fourth overall pick, and they're taking their quarterback of the future in Jaden Daniels. He'll sit behind uh, Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones essentially has one more year left on his deal before club option. Um, so he's not going to start right away, but he's the quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. At least they hope. The Chargers at pick 5. Um, Listen, I could see any of these players going to the Chargers here. I think Neighbors, as we continue closer to the draft, is going to be the second wide receiver taken. You see a lot of scouts, a lot of guys who do this for a living. Guys like Mel Kiper Jr., guys like Bucky Brooks, guys like Daniel Jeremiah have Malik Neighbors closer to Marvin Harrison Jr. than to Rome Odunze. And so Malik Neighbors could be the pick. I've had them taking Brock Bowers in a lot of my mock drafts, but I've also seen a lot of opinions that Brock Bowers could slide. And in this one, I'm going to have him take Malik Neighbors, give another weapon to Justin Herbert, to Jim Harbaugh in this talented offense, pair him with Keenan Allen. Maybe they sign Saquon Barkley in free agency. I don't know. We'll see. Arizona at pick 6 now gets the opportunity to take that wide receiver. Rome Odunze is a great fit for them, gives them another weapon for Kyler Murray to really help revamp that offense. Tennessee at pick 7. I've been saying Tennessee's going to take a tackle in almost all my mock drafts, and I'm not going to change here. Joe Alt being the top tackle available at pick 7, I think is a good situation for them, and I think they're happy with the way the draft board shook out. Atlanta at pick 8, one of the more pivotal picks. If Atlanta goes tackle or tight end here, I think it really screws over the Jets, and that hurts me as a Jets fan. But I think Dallas Turner's is growing in my mind as more likely to be the pick here than not, especially with Raheem Morris being hired as head coach. I could see them leaning defensive for that first pick in the new regime. So I like that pick for Atlanta. Chicago pick 9. I don't think Chicago hates the idea of pairing Olu Fashanu with Caleb Williams, and they trade Justin Fields. I don't know what they get out of that. Some people think that an early pick, like pick 12, even if it's Denver, could go to Bears for Justin Fields. I heard Mel Kiper say that it could be a top 10 pick. I just don't buy that, and maybe I'll have that in the future. Maybe I'll have a team like Vegas Raiders trading for Justin Fields and giving up that 13th pick, trading back. I don't know, but for now, I'm going to assume that there's some other compensation involved. So Chicago doesn't get another pick in this first round mock, but they do like where they come out with Olu Fashanu and Caleb Williams. The Jets, on the other hand, the Jets were probably hoping Olu Fashanu slipped to them. And while it'd be fun to take Brock Bowers, there's a growing feeling that they like Tylese Fuaga, tackle at Oregon State. That's where I'm going to go here for their pick. Minnesota at pick 11. This is an interesting one. Minnesota needs help all over the defense. I'm going to go Terrion Arnold here. What's interesting is in this draft board, you see Quinyon Mitchell at 15. When I started doing these mock drafts, he was like at 35. And I said on these mock drafts, he's going to be sliding his way up the boards. And him participating in the Senior Bowl, I said on a mock draft on this channel, subscribe for this kind of content, by the way, that he was going to rise up the boards because of his performance at the Senior Bowl. And he was clearly the best player in the Senior Bowl camps, in the practices. And so he's going at 15 in this projection. That's crazy. Denver at pick 12 has a new quarterback in Justin Fields. Maybe they want to draft Quinyon Mitchell. Maybe I just go full balls to the wall. I've had Quinyon Mitchell going as late as 32 to the Niners obviously before the Super Bowl. I'm making him go as early as 12. Maybe this is just to toot my own horn with how he's rising up the draft boards, but man, that's a great pick, I think, for Denver to really solidify. I mean, him alongside Patrick Surtain would make an excellent 1-2 punch in that defensive backfield. Vegas at pick 13. As time goes on, I feel like Vegas could be involved for a quarterback here. And a lot of the feeling is that J.J. McCarthy's rising up the draft board. I just don't see him going this early. And Michael Penix seems to be sliding, which I thought was not going to be the case. I just tooted my own horn for a guy who I thought was going to rise and did. I'm now shunning myself for a guy who I thought was going to rise and isn't. So given that, I think this is a little too early for a quarterback. I'm going to have them taking an impact tackle to help protect that quarterback wherever they draft him. J.C. Latham out of Alabama makes a ton of sense for them. I like that pick. That brings us to New Orleans at pick 14. I've had them taken Latu out of UCLA in a lot of mock drafts so far. But with Jared Verse available, I think he's a better talent, higher ceiling. I like Jared Verse to them, add another defensive weapon to Dennis Allen's defense. The Saints got to show something this year. They got to compete for that division. I mean, they did last year, but didn't really feel like they were really competing for that division. Derek Carr's got to play better if he wants to keep Dennis Allen employed. Anyway, Indianapolis at pick 15. Indy's a team that could go wide receiver or corner here. Nate Wiggins could be the guy. Kool-Aid McKinstry, although he's sliding down draft boards, could be the guy. I don't hate Brian Thomas Jr. to add a big body to that wide receiver core. Oh, that's really tempting. I mean, Latu could be a helpful pass rusher for them, but I'm gonna go Brian Thomas. I know this is a little bit of a reach, but Brian Thomas Jr. fits the mold of a guy they want to put alongside Michael Pittman, who I think is going to get tagged, franchise tagged and brought back to Indy. You give another weapon to Anthony Richardson and that young offense, which already looked good with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss in the backfield. Already looked good with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Now you potentially upgrade that with Anthony Richardson if he could stay healthy. I know he had some injury concerns in his rookie season, but if he could stay healthy, adding another weapon like Brian Thomas Jr. is a lot of fun. Seattle at pick 16. Latu makes a lot of sense here. I've had them taking Georgetown Newton in a lot of mock drafts. Latu sliding a little bit. I think that pick could make sense for them. Jacksonville at pick 17. I don't like how far Brock Bowers is sliding, but I just don't see a fit here yet. And Jacksonville is not where I could see a fit, especially with Evan Ingram. I know they run Evan Ingram a lot at wide receiver, and I think he might be a free agent, but they're going to bring him back if he is. Um, I just can't see them drafting a tight end. Nate Wiggins could be a guy really high ceiling, could really help their defensive backfield. I like that pick for them. Cincinnati at pick 18. In almost every mock draft, I've had them taking a tackle. I think in every mock draft, I might have had them taking a wide receiver in one of them, assuming T. Higgins left. But I'm assuming T. Higgins stays because I went with the scenario that the Patriots signed Kirk Cousins and not signing T. Higgins. Could Brock Bowers be a weapon for them? I just can't, in good faith, leave a tackle like Amarius Mims on the board, even Troy Fontenot on the board when the Bengals struggle to protect Joe Burrow year after year after year. If you continue to do that, that's an easy way to lose your franchise player. Taking Amarius Mims, you got to protect Joe Burrow. You got to learn from the Colts' mistakes when they had Andrew Luck. Keep your franchise quarterback upright, especially a guy who could be the best quarterback in the league for years to come, or one of the best, if you want to argue. Patrick Mahomes is that guy. Pick 19 for the LA Rams. This is tough. I mean, they need help on the defensive backfield. They need help at tackle. I think Cooper DeJean makes sense for them. He's seemingly rising up draft boards. I don't see the top end talent there from the clips I've seen. I've only seen a lot of highlights, to be honest. I haven't seen a lot of actual gameplay of him. So you know what? It'll have to be the pick here. Pittsburgh at pick 20. They could go for a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry and pair him alongside Joey Porter Jr. I could also see them making a play for a quarterback. Could a guy like J.J. McCarthy be the pick here? It's tough. I mean, it's Brock Bowers is still on the board. It really hurts to see him fall, but I think he's going to get to Miami, and I think Miami's going to take him. I'm going to have him taking Kool-Aid McKinstry to pair with Joey Porter Jr. Um, I'm going to look at Miami's depth chart at tight end because I'm blanking on who they have. Dolphins depth chart. Could that be a guy? Could Brock Bowers be a guy to add another weapon to this offense? Tyler Croft, Julian Hill, Durham Smythe. Who was with them last year? I can't even remember. I'm gonna look up 2023 depth chart. Is that it? Was that their tight end core? I feel like they had someone else. Mike Gesicki was already gone. You know what? I'm gonna take Brock Bowers from Miami. I mean, I don't know that he really fits Mike McDaniel's system, but you add another weapon. I mean, him alongside Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. Man, I like that offense. That's a fun offense. Brock Bowers sliding that far probably makes Mike McDaniel very happy. I know they're probably looking for an offensive lineman, but still, that's a lot of fun. Um, Philly, I think is hinging on whether Jason Kelsey retires. If Jason Kelsey retires, they could slide a guy like Jackson Powers Johnson inside. I don't know. Graham Barton could be the pick here. Or you could just go tackle because you need help on that offensive line. You need help with the defensive backfield too, but I don't love any picks here. I think feel like Rake Straw is a little bit early to pick here. I'm gonna have them take it a tackle. Troy Fontenot helps beef up that offensive line that was already good last year. Houston at pick 23. I've had them taking Jerson Newton in a previous mock draft, and I think that makes a lot of sense here. I could see them adding another wide receiver to this offense, but when you get a guy like Jerson Newton with the pedigree he has, you add him to the talent he has, you add him to D'Amico Ryan's defense, you rush him on the interior with Will Anderson there. That's a fun pass rush. And a decent run stopping rush as well. A run stopping unit as well. Dallas at pick 24. I think they go offensive line. Jackson Powers Johnson seems to be rising up draft boards. I've had them taking Graham Barton in recent mock drafts. I'll go Powers Johnson here. Just add another offensive lineman to help protect Dak and help that running game. I think they're going to have to make an addition at running back in free agency, whether that's Derrick Henry or whoever else. Um, so I think helping that offensive line could certainly help them going forward. Green Bay at pick 25. I'm losing my voice a little bit here. I apologize. Tyler Guyton makes sense for them. David Bakhtiari is certainly leaving in free agency. I believe he's been released already. He's probably signing with my New York Jets, which I'm indifferent about. Listen, I think they need help in the defensive backfield, but I still think Ray Struck could be a reach here. I like them taking Tyler Guyton, help even up that offensive line, protect Jordan Love, give him time to hit those weapons. Tampa Bay at pick 26, probably later than they want this pick. But I'm assuming Mike Evans leaves in free agency. The tag is going to be way too expensive for him, and maybe Mike Evans negotiates a deal there. But given that they have to pay a quarterback, whether it's Baker Mayfield or who else, drafting a guy like Keon Coleman out of Florida State, a familiar territory for them. I don't know. Not a bad situation to replace Mike Evans if he leaves. Arizona pick 27. They got Roma Dunze at pick 6. They traded back. They probably got a second or a third or whatever the situation was. Adding a guy like Robinson at Penn State or Rakestraw to that defense, I think could help here. I don't hate either pick. I'm gonna go Robinson though. I think that's a combo they like. I mean, I know, like I said at the top of the draft, they're disappointed they probably didn't, or they're probably disappointed they didn't get Marvin Harrison Jr. out of this. But I don't hate that. I don't hate that draft for them. Buffalo at pick 28 could go a defensive player here. A lot of mock drafts have taken wide receivers and wide receivers at the top of the draft board for their needs according to NFL mock draft database simulator. But as time goes on, I feel like they're going defense. Byron Murphy seems like a good pick for them here. I feel like he slid a little bit. Detroit at pick 29. Now here's a good spot for Rake Straw. I feel like he could fit well into that Dan Campbell energy and defense. I think that's a lot of fun. Baltimore at pick 30. They could go wide receiver. I assume Odell Beckham's leaving in free agency. Doesn't hurt to add another weapon to that offense that it felt way better in the regular season, but felt a little flat in the playoffs against Kansas City. I like that for them. San Francisco. I think more as time goes on, they're leaning tackle, but I'm still going to have them taking Kamari Lassiter here. They need help at that defensive backfield desperately. And then Kansas City at pick 32. I mean, you're happy with winning the Super Bowl, but you probably were hoping to get a guy like Keon Coleman, have a little bit earlier a pick. Nonetheless, I think they take a wide receiver here. I know the right tackle is certainly a position of need, and Jordan Morgan could plug that need. But I also like adding A.D. Mitchell here. Adonai Mitchell from Texas, giving Patrick Mahomes another weapon. Let's see where this draft shook out. So we had, of course, I mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Patriots with them signing Kirk Cousins in free agency. Giants trading up to 4 to take Jaden Daniels, which means the Cardinals traded back to take Rome Odunze. The Minnesota Vikings get one of their corners of the future. Quinyon Mitchell makes it all the way up to 12. Brian Thomas Jr. ends up being an early pick for the Indianapolis Colts, but adds another weapon of that dynamic offense. A lot of teams add corners in this mid-round. Brock Bowers is the slide of the draft, going to Miami at pick 21. Jerson Newton pairs with Will Anderson and that Houston Texans defense. Mike Evans leaves in free agency, but the Bucks replace him. Listen, I don't hate this. Troy Franklin replaces Odell Beckham. Adonai Mitchell provides another weapon for the Kansas City Chiefs. I like this mock draft. I like the way this turned out. I think it was an interesting experiment. Now, like I said, I don't think this is going to happen. This was from a Instagram post that I saw from Pick Six. If I remember, I posted that at the beginning of the video on the screen, or at least show it. But I hope you enjoyed this quick thoughts episode, this mock draft. I think it was a fun one. I liked it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this is possible or realistic? I'm gonna have another mock draft next week on Mock Draft Monday, so subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. Peace out.